Hi, this video is to introduce an exercise that I call cranking the car vibrato, or the cranking the vibrato exercise. I like to imagine a really old-fashioned car that used to have to wind up, crank up, and the engine kind of splutters into life. It's really slow to begin with and then it sort of gets going. So that's why I call this exercise cranking the car. So I call it cranking the car vibrato, but it's debatable whether it's a vibrato exercise or perhaps it becomes a vibrato exercise. The idea is that we start by really using the abdominal muscles to create a really pulsing, exaggerated, slow vibrato that gradually gets faster and faster and faster. And as it gets faster, it might start to sound more like a normal vibrato, what we think of as vibrato. But at the beginning, it's all about using the abdominal muscles to pulse the air in a kind of slow, exaggerated way. And then the speed gathers and the depth of the sort of exaggeratedness starts to get shallower. So it becomes more like vibrato. This is quite a good exercise to do in the middle octave using harmonic fingerings as well. And we're trying to get a really big, deep, rich sound, a really big sound. Often players make a really big, nice sound in the lower octave, and as they come up into the middle octave, the sound starts to get narrower and narrower and narrower. I was working with Kate Hill, who used to be, she's a retired professor of flute at the Royal Academy of Music, and she describes this as the pyramid effect, where the sound sort of goes up and gets narrower as it kind of reaches a kind of the top of the pyramid. And we don't want that. We want the sound to stay wide and fat and big. We want to have that controlled, to be able to make that choice when we want it. So to work on this exercise, I'll try it on a few different harmonic notes. I'll start with a low E fingering, playing the middle B harmonic. So really big, exaggerated, slow, deep pulses in the air that gradually become a vibrato. Takes a lot of air at the beginning. Excuse me. So you really need to fill the lungs, a lot of breath, so you can really push. So the abdominal muscles, which you can't see on my screen, but they're sort of in between, above the belly button, below the rib cage, they're pushing, getting faster and faster and faster. And you might get to a point where you're approaching a kind of normal vibrato, where your abdominals can't push any more at that faster speed. And the vibrato kind of starts to, instead of being pushed from down here, starts to come and be produced in the throat as a kind of ha 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 ha. So it starts here, but you might find it moves up. Here's a low D fingering, creating an A harmonic. As I do it, I'm trying to use the quality of the harmonic, which is really rich in harmonics, because I'm using a low D fingering or a low E fingering. So we're using the low fingerings to get the harmonic sound. That quality should be richer and fuller and have much more of a content of the lower harmonics in that middle octave sound. And then we want to keep that as the vibrato gets shallower. What we can also do is halfway through, we can move from our harmonic fingering to our normal fingering, trying to maintain though that depth of harmonic content. So we're trying to avoid and narrowing in the sound when we move from the harmonic fingering to the correct fingering, to the normal fingering. This can take some time, but it's really worth persevering with. So you end up with this really big, full, fat sound in the middle octave. That perhaps isn't a vibrato that I would choose to use very often when I'm playing, but as an exercise, it's a really useful exercise to filling out and fattening out the middle octave sound. Give it a try. See, after a little bit of perseverance, it works for you. Good luck.